and welcome to my latest video. So in this video I'm going to be taking a look at some of the new Legions Imperialis models that Games Workshop sent me. And so I'm a big fan of the old Space Marine and Epic game system. I used to play it a lot when I was a teenager, and I've been, ever since Adeptus Titanicus was relaunched, I've been waiting for them to do a new version of Space Marine, just because I love the fact that the small models really give a sense of scale to the Titans. Now, for these models, they are bigger than the old Epic Space Marine ones. Those were, just tiny little things, and these have been upscaled a bit. Games Workshop doesn't really give a proper scale. I mean, I guess it's around about 8mm, but I'm not interested in discussing arguing about what the actual scale is. I just will say that they are definitely bigger than the old models. So these are two of the Kratos tanks that I've painted up as Imperial Fists. All the painting that I'm doing on these is very, very quick. I am going to do some painting videos on how to do them, but I've done them all for gaming. This is purely like a hobby element for me, and I just wanted to paint them up so I'll be able to play with some tiny tanks and dreadnoughts and things like that. So here we've got 4 of the Contemptors as well. The kits are quite posable, really. Obviously the Marines aren't. The Marines are going to be like one piece, or in the odd case 2 pieces, but things like these dreadnoughts here, the arms are separate, the legs are separate. They are kind of, they do try and force you into a pose a little bit with the legs, but you don't actually have to use the specific legs that they tell you to, so you can mix and match them, and you can make them work even if they're not supposed to. So you can play around a little bit with them. Obviously they're not quite as customizable as the larger kit, so that the feet are stuck in specific poses, and also the claws as well. They are like this. The weapon options and things like that, there are only 2 weapon options really, and you can see them here. So it's the assault cannon or the las cannon. The predators here, these are also really cool. I mean, I must stress that the tanks are the best things about the new game. The detail on them is fantastic. If you wanted to, you could spend a long time on these, really picking out all the details. I've just done these very, very quickly. So, just basic stuff with some airbrush and washing and things like that. I have gone a little bit over the top by painting the lenses, but that's just because I want to. It's just a habit of mine of picking out details and things. But you don't have to do that, and really, it's not something that you would notice when you were playing with it on the battlefield. The turrets on these, you can glue them on if you want to, but you don't need to, and they move around fine. And again, you have weapon options on these. So for the tanks themselves, the sponson weapons, you can have those as heavy bolters, and the turrets, those can also be the Predator auto cannon thing. So there are options. Also, like all of the hatches on top, you can switch out and put some open hatches with guys coming out of them. Here we've got the Sicarans as well, so I've got both weapon options on the top this time. And you can also see on the sponsons, so this time I've done one with heavy bolters and one with las cannons. And again, like the turrets on top, they can rotate, but the sponsons are fixed on. But again, you can just see the amount of detail that's put into these kits. They're I have painted up the tanks primarily because you can use those as a tank company. You don't actually have to use any troops at all if you don't want to. I don't know how well that would perform it on a battlefield role, but it certainly looked cool. And you can have tank battles between 2 players and things like that. The only disappointment I have at the moment is that there are no rules for just using purely Titans. Now I know there's Adeptus Titanicus, and that's a game in its own, on its own, but I do quite like the idea of asymmetrical battles where it's like Titans versus tanks or something like that. But of course you could still do that, make the game up yourself. You don't have to just follow slavishly the rules or whatever, but I just thought it'd be kind of interesting if you could have like knights and Titans versus armies, just to see how, Titans destroying everything. So here's these are the best troops, by the way, the Terminators. So there's not much in the way of distortion on these. I'm going to take a closer look at the sprues for the Marines in a little bit, but the Terminators, the detail on them is pretty good. There's not that much variation really in terms of weapons for them. You use what's on the kit, but there is a commander. So if you see, he'll come around into focus in a second, but he's got a little I can't remember what it's called, the little grenade launcher thing on top of his carapace, and he also has a thunder hammer. You get one of those in addition to the per 10 Marines. So you always get 10 Terminators, and then there's an 11th model that you can use, and so that will then swap out the thing. So you've got a sergeant for the unit. So here I've got a Baneblade, or whatever it's called. It's the one with the different gun on it. I've primed it, ready to paint, and then I popped the turret on, and the primer stuck it on, so you can just see it in a moment. There we go. I've ripped it off. But if you look inside there, you can see there's magnet spaces. So if you want to use this as a standard Baneblade, you can magnetize them and swap over the weapons if you want. All of the sponsons are loose as well, so those can be rotated, as well as the little heavy bolter one at the front. And here's a little Lehman Russ Vanquisher. I love these. I'm going to also do a tank company for the Solar Auxilia, just because they I don't know, they look really cute, and I love the the look of them, and also they're very simple, so they're going to be quite quick to paint. I'll probably do a quick video of those. And here we are going back to the Kratos tankers as well. This is with the variation with the melter turret, and I've also stuck on the dozer blade at the front. And there you can see as well the little turrets with the las cannons on. They still rotate, so there's a nice amount of movement of things in the kit. And there's one that's already primed, and it doesn't have the dozer blade. So there's quite a lot of variation to it, and the two main cannons again between the main gun and the melter as well. So this is where we get into a slight issue, kind of like my biggest disappointment with the models, and it's not really that bad. I know a few people have been complaining about it online, but it's the Marines themselves. So when you look at them straight on, they all look amazing. There's loads of poses, and really, I mean, you don't need this many poses for a game of this scale, but it's lovely to see all the details. So you've got like your sergeants and banner bearers and all sorts of things like that. Details all the way around. You can clearly see what they're all supposed to be, what they're all holding. But I'm going to do some zoom-ins on a few specific models in a moment. But there is some distortion on the kits, and I kind of feel like instead of doing some of the more dynamic poses, they could have just made the models more two-dimensional. So just having them. By two-dimensional, I mean with flatter poses. So if you go back and looked at the Terminators when I showed those, they have their arms out to the side. They don't. There's not a lot of depth to any of the detail. So there's no stretching. There's no undercuts or anything. But or no need for any undercuts. But if you look here, you can see these bolter-armed Marines. From this angle, you can clearly see the back of the bolter stretches out into the shoulder, and then if you look underneath them, now the underneath thing I think is a few people have pointed that out. I think it's completely irrelevant and it's not worth worrying about. You can't see this when you've got these on the table. It's mainly the top-down perspective, so it's really not worth worrying about. And a lot of this as well, you could just leave these elements black or paint them in black, and it'll just look like shadows. So just paint the Marines normally, it won't be an issue. But the top-down ones with the guns, where they've got the guns against the shoulders, where you can see it, basically the filled-in section between the gun and the shoulder, I find that quite disappointing, and I wish they'd tweaked the pose a bit so that wasn't quite so obvious. And I mean that's pretty much it for the video. So here's a little photo of all my tanks together. So this is technically a legal army. I know it doesn't look like one, and it's like 400 and some points, I think. But I've got a Thunderhawk as well, which can also go into this formation. So if you don't know, you have to select formations, and there are certain detachments that you can add to specific formations. So it's not a case of you can take whatever you want. You are limited by which formation you take as to what you can add to it in terms of detachments. But it's quite nice. I mean, it stops people just taking ridiculous looking armies, and there's still a lot of freedom within that. And obviously you can take multiple formations depending on the size of the game as well. So, you know, I'm quite excited to get playing. I have watched a couple of videos and on how to play the game. It does seem very similar to the old Epic game system I'm familiar with. There's just a few different tweaks to the rules, but I don't want to speak too much on the rules because I haven't played it yet, so I might be missing a couple of things. But from what I can see, you know, flicking through the rulebook and things, it does seem quite familiar. So I'm hopefully going to be able to pick it up and have a few games with it myself. But anyway, so that's the end of this video. There's going to be videos out with how to paint these, or a few of them anyway, and I'm probably going to do a few videos in a series so that you can see for different legions, and I might even paint some of the solar auxilia models as well. But anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.